First, this is not a gardening video, so I will not be offended in any way if you swipe away. Today I'm just going to sit down. I'm trying to get my Christmas spirit going again because I've neglected it for a few years. And I thought I'd answer a couple of questions. A lot of my questions I receive have to do around how I use my harvest, how I cook with it. And sometimes I try to get that in videos, but it's a bit hard. Maybe someday my channel grows, I'll do a newsletter that maybe speaks a bit more to that. But today is just a couple of more about my living here. Some questions there that I get quite a bit on either YouTube or my Facebook. So let's get into those. So the first question I'll tackle is, where exactly do I live? I live in the town of Carbonear on the Avalon Peninsula in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. And though I think I get that question a lot because I just had to get my coffee. It looks like I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's a bit deceiving. We chose to build here because of the privacy and love it. However, the town center is 5 minutes away from us. So really, everything we need is here. This little town has a lot of history going way back. The town was settled in 1631, and the island, Carbonear Island, that you often see in many of my video clips, was known for a while as the Gibraltar of Newfoundland, and they fended off the French 3 times, I believe it was, with all the settlers hiding out on that island, and the French couldn't get up the cliffs to get them. Really fascinating story. The town only has, I think it's somewhere around 4,700 people, but it has everything we need, from hospitals to shops to whatnot. And St. John's, which is across the way, that you see over there, is about an hour away from us, and that's the capital of Newfoundland. It does look like we're all alone up here, but that's the way we want it, and we are all alone up here. So the next question. Oh, I get this one a lot, and it's a really good question. Why don't I have a greenhouse? Or why don't I use, row covers? Or I have a very harsh environment here, so I understand why people ask that, and a short season. It's cooler climate on the Atlantic Ocean. But because of that, where we live, our house up this cliff has very high winds. Actually, today it's 68 kilometers out there. That's just a normal day. But it's very windy and awful out. But if I put any form of a polytunnel or greenhouse, the worry is it wouldn't hang on. There have been many, well, I'd say 3 to 5 times a year, we, due to, tropical storms coming through or whatever's going by, we get, well, it can be 120 is probably the highest it really goes. There's been higher, but those are horrific incidents. But 120 kilometer winds, which is, I think, the base of a category 1. And we're afraid of our house. We feel it rocking. We're afraid the roof's going to come off. So I couldn't imagine, even though it's, sporadic, few times a year, those 120 would send any form of greenhouse that if I purchased, or polytunnel, out into the ocean. Having said that, would I love one? Of course I would. And, maybe someday if we come across some windows on the side of the road or something, and Bruce gets creative, if we build a substantial enough, it couldn't be a bought one, but if we built one and cemented it in or something, it certainly, we could do that. We just haven't the time or the money probably to do that right now. My dream is to have into the cliffs in the back dug out to create a geothermal greenhouse. We have so much wonderful daylight here. It's coming straight onto our house. I think that would be fantastic, and I could probably even grow citrus trees. And as far as any kind of row covers, or even if I put, glass or something on top of the beds, I've tried. I have 2 cold frames, and I did do winter gardening for 2 years here. When I first got here, I just really wanted to learn this new climate for me when we moved here, and see how far I could push the bar. And I actually could get salads, and it worked really well. But the hassle was, this old girl had to go up with her boots on high, trudge through the snow, clean off it was just a hassle that I don't want, because I'm all about enjoying my garden to the fullest, which means making things as uncomplicated as possible. And that was just too complicated. What was much easier for me, and I learned to do, was to store my harvest well. And that's where I am today. And if they were on the beds, well, again, they'd be blowing off. I have put structures with rocks on top to keep them, and no matter what, they either are beaten to death and beat the plants to death, cracked, blown, just has not worked for me. So I've given it up. But it's a good question. And the greenhouse situation, maybe someday. It's true. We're going to cut the pomegranate. Does a pomegranate remind you as much of Christmas as it does me?
Yeah. It's a very Christmas
Right?
fruit.
It's always. We'll clean the mess later.
That's very
You can
good.
have the larger half.
Okay.
And I'm going to try this. See if it works.
No, not really. Oh, look at all this.
Not really.
No. Good way to juice it.
Jamie Oliver made it look really easy. Now, I mentioned Christmas. I have been very lax about it for 3 years now, I think it is, since my son left to go to the big city. That was about 5 years ago. So I put a tree up for a year or two. And it was me putting the tree up, me taking it down. We're not really big on gifts, so there was no gifts. It's not about that for us at Christmas. Christmas is about family, food, that warmth, memories, coziness. And I just got lazy. I remember saying to Bruce, are we going to put the tree up? And we kind of did, nah. And, it's not so much that we missed it terribly. The kids weren't here. But you do miss the subtle memories. The memories of bringing out your ornaments. I'd say 70 to 80% of my ornaments are homemade from my friends, my family, throughout the years. And just pulling those out this year has given me a wonderful feeling. Having my son here this year is kicking it up a notch so that I actually get off the pot and get the feeling going. And that is, it's the smells. I'll start the potpourris boiling, warm soups. We're going to make candy canes later. It was Drew's idea, so I'm holding him to it. My parents always were great, and I tried to carry on those traditions too. So they would, every Christmas morning, they'd dress up. My dad would put on a tuxedo, my mom would put on some kind of gown. Huge breakfast with all the fixings. We'd have champagne, and it was just a wonderful celebration. I think our ancestry, both my parents are of Scottish ancestry, and so Christmas isn't about gifts or a lot of hoo-ha. It is just about the warmth, what do they call it now? The big buzz these days is the hygge. And I think we always had that anyways. That is a part of, actually I think it's part of being Canadian, because you do hunker down in this cold wintry months and, you know, enjoy games and just all that family fun around Christmas time. And it's not about the showiness or it's really about cozy and comfortable and not about gifts. And I think, again, the Scottish tradition is because New Year's is usually the big day. So you know, my gifts, for example, growing up were hilarious. Friends would come over, you know, I'd be 13 years old or something. What'd you get? What'd you get? And I had, you know, dishes, beautiful Scottish pottery. I remember I got the whole set sort of for my hope chest type things, or just, you know, odd Christmas gifts, which I thought were wonderful. But I'm sure my friends who had toys and clothes and whatever, must have thought I was a bit crazy. But yeah, I think I pass that down. We all do. So it is important to keep those traditions going. So I'm putting Christmas back up. I'm already feeling the beauty of it, the warmth of it, the memories from it. And we're going to enjoy it this year. I just made a nice warming pot of French onion soup to keep the gang happy. So Drew's going to help me finish decorating the tree. And right now, we got to get a move on. We're losing our light. And make candy canes for the first time.
What? Sure.
Yeah, so we've got a 1/4 cup of corn syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Drew's adding 2 cups of sugar, then a 1/2 cup of water.
1/2 cup of water.
Let me get this right.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Pour it on the fork.
All right. By the way, I'm wearing pomegranate juice on my shirt.
Nice.
So now we're just going to bring it to a boil. And with our thermometer, we're going to get it to 290 to 310 Fahrenheit, in between there. Perfect. Now Drew's going to drop half of it on, and we'll add some peppermint, a few drops. And then the second batch, we're going to add a few drops of the red food coloring. And that's hot. Oops. Okay, we're almost done with the candy canes. Drew's done the biggest load here. And he's got some tender fingers, Drew.
Mm-hmm. Hurts.
It's a bit painful. Be careful if you're doing this yourself. Make sure that they cool down before you start trying to manipulate them. But it's a fine line. So it's our first try. And I think they're cute, right?
Yep, I think so too.
Yeah, they need to be perfected, but doesn't matter. They're gorgeous. Homemade. Now the third question, going to get on to that. It's about the house. It's I get questions such as, did you replace your windows in your house? Did you build your home? Is your home custom made? So I'm going to speak to some of those quickly. It is not custom made per se. Bruce got a pencil and a paper out and designed the home, and then we mulled over it for a while to you know, the room size and whatnot, and what was feasible. So the windows, in fact, we planned, and so yeah, we built it all, and it's the only way we could have done it, because the framework, plumbing, the electrical, and the roof, we had contractors, but Bruce pretty much did the rest of the house. Let's take a look at the candy canes. Could have used a bit more red dye. Live and learn, but I think they're adorable. Take care. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.